You've just come up with the next big startup idea. You're excited, you got a clear vision, and you're ready to go all in. But within a year or two, your dream starts to crumble. Your startup fails and you're left asking yourself what went wrong. And if you've ever been there, you're not alone. In fact, 90% of startups fail. So in this video, I'm gonna walk through 6 reasons why this happens and share practical steps that you can take to avoid failure. First, your focus should be on the problem, not just the solution. There are entrepreneurs who often fall in love with their ideas without understanding the problems that their target audience actually faces. And the mistake isn't necessarily the idea itself, but the lack of understanding of the actual problem that they're trying to solve. Because without a solid understanding of the problem, even the best solutions aren't going to find an audience. And it's all about perspective. So the key here is to flip your perspective. So instead of starting with what can I create, start with what problems actually need solving. And then talk to people, ask questions, dig into what frustrates them, what slows them down, and what do they wish worked better. Now here's where a problem log comes in handy. A problem log is a simple tool to track pain points that you encounter or that you hear about while you're just out living your life. And speaking of your own life, just think about what's going on in your own life. What tasks frustrate you? What tools do you wish existed? And you write these down in your log. Now, over time, you're going to start to see patterns or reoccurring pain points that happen over and over again. And that's your gold mine of potential ideas. This allows you to stay laser focused on real issues that you're trying to solve rather than just getting excited about your product. You don't have to do this alone. You could brainstorm with potential co-founders because having somebody else's perspective really helps uncover insights that you may have missed. And whether it's a co-founder with a complementary skill set or somebody who's also passionate about the same problem, brainstorming with other people helps you validate and refine the idea and understand it better. Take the example of Airbnb. The founders didn't just think about creating a place for travelers to stay. Instead, they recognized a problem. People needed affordable short-term lodging and homeowners had unused space that they could rent out. By focusing on the problem of affordable housing for travelers and unused space for homeowners, Airbnb was able to build a solution that resonated with both groups. So don't rush into building your solution. First, spend time researching and learning and truly understanding the problem. Now, this might seem like a slower start, and it is, but trust me, it's gonna save you time and resources in the long run. Founders who skip this step often end up with products that nobody uses. Now, I've done the research, and you might just have a better chance of your startup surviving if you hit the subscribe button so that you can build your business in the smart way. My second point to avoid startup failure is validate this problem before you start to build. So now that you've identified a problem and a target audience, it's time to validate your idea before you develop it. And this is one of the most important steps that a lot of entrepreneurs skip. If you're building a product without validating the problem and the solution with your audience, you're setting yourself up for failure. Validation is the step where you test your idea before you go all in. It isn't just about asking your friends or your family what they think about your idea or if they think it's cool. It's about getting feedback from people who are part of your target audience. So how do you validate? Well, you start small. You create a simple prototype or a simple landing page, and you share your idea with your target audience. And you want to get their feedback. Are they excited? Would they pay for it? You can use tools like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or even a social media platform to gather some feedback. Now, the goal is to learn if your potential customers actually face the problem that you think that they do and whether they're willing to pay for the solution. Validation saves you time and money, and it gives you more confidence. You'll know that you're working on something that your audience actually needs and not something that's just useless. Which brings me to my third point, which is don't try to be everything to everyone. Now, the idea of having a product that appeals to everybody sounds great on paper, but it's often a recipe for disaster. Why is this? Well, it's because whenever you try to be everything to everyone, you end up being nothing to no one. Instead, you should focus on a specific audience and conduct in-depth research. Think about who your ideal customer is. Like, what do they do? What do they care about? What challenges do they face? Where do they spend their time? How do they communicate? And when you know them inside and out, then you can create a solution that feels tailor-made for them, which is where the magic happens. Now, one of the greatest examples of this is Nike, which is one of the biggest brands that we know today. But when Nike started, they didn't try to sell shoes to everybody right away. Instead, they focused on a very specific group, athletes. Why is this? Well, it's because athletes had a clear need for performance-enhancing footwear, and Nike understood that. They studied what athletes needed, and they designed their shoes to meet those demands. And all of that focus paid off, because once they nailed it with athletes, then they slowly started expanding into other market segments. And this is a perfect example example of how understanding your audience and starting with a clear focus can set a foundation for massive startup success. Identify your audience and create a profile for your ideal customer. What's their age, their profession, their biggest frustration? And by zooming in, you'll build a stronger connection and create something that they actually need. And you can only do this if you know them incredibly well. Today's video is brought to you by Forecaster. Now, I created Forecaster after seeing entrepreneurs struggle with their financials. Many would refresh their bank accounts every day, they'd stress over cash flow, and they'd try to cobble together these clunky spreadsheets to try to understand their business. And when it came to fundraising, things got even harder, leading to confusing financial plans that really hurt their credibility with investors. That's why we built Forecaster. It's world-class software designed to make your numbers clear, attract investment, and to help you grow faster with the power of data. Plus, every customer is paired with an expert financial coach to guide them every step of the way. Click the link below for a free 30-minute discovery session with our team. If you're a fit to move forward, we'll throw in a free 10 hours of analyst time, which covers the full cost of your onboarding into our software. Now, we only take 50 new customers per month, so claim your spot today. Spots are very limited. The fourth reason startups fail is simply taking too much time to develop and release their MVP. So keep it simple and keep it cheap. Sometimes founders will spend months or even years perfecting their product before showing it to potential users. Now, the problem here is that by the time it launches, they've spent too much money and time and may have lost their opportunity. Instead, focus on creating a minimum viable product, or MVP, really quickly. An MVP is a very simple version of your product. It doesn't need to be perfect and it doesn't need to be flashy. It just needs to solve the core problem effectively. So releasing an MVP quickly has three major benefits. You'll know early on if people are willing to pay for your product. Early users can tell you what works and what doesn't, and that'll help you improve. You also save money by avoiding unnecessary features that people don't actually want or care about. If you're in the early stages of your startup, it's also really tempting to think that the more features that you offer, the better. But that can quickly spiral into a huge financial burden. Instead, keep it simple and focus on solving one problem that works really well. What's that core feature or value of your product? Just focus on that. You don't need to launch with 50 features. Start with one or two that solves a real problem effectively. For example, Instagram started as a simple photo sharing app with a filter feature. They did one thing and they did that incredibly well. Give people a quick and easy way to enhance their photos and share them. Over time, they expanded their features, but the core product remained simple. That's the key to success. Start with a basic functional problem that your customers can understand and benefit from. You should think of your MVP as the starting point. It's not the final version. It's the beginning of a process where you refine and improve based off of user input. So stop aiming for perfection and start testing as soon as you can. Fifth, make it a priority to engage with your customers regularly. So once your MVP is in place, staying in constant communication with your customers becomes a non-negotiable. And it's not just about talking to your early adopters. You need to engage with all of your customers, from your initial users to those who come on board later. They're all essential for providing honest, actionable feedback that you need to fine-tune your product. These are the people that are living and breathing the problem that your product aims to solve, and their input is invaluable. Don't just ask surface-level questions. Dig deep into whether you're truly solving their pain points, if there's friction in their experience, or if they're getting enough value to stick around. These conversations are about refining your product and making sure that it's evolving in the right direction. Now, a regular feedback loop is going to give you the ability to spot patterns and identify trends and prioritize the right fixes before they turn into bigger issues. And this allows you to pivot when necessary and ensure that your product continues to meet your customers' evolving needs. Now, the result will be that you're building a product that not only solves real problems, but keeps your customers loyal and engaged and excited for what's next. And it's this kind of attention to detail that drives long-term growth, and it turns your users into passionate advocates for your brand. The last reasons that startups fail is not focusing on your team. Zig Ziglar had a quote that I love. You don't build a business, you build the people, and then the people build the business. When hiring new team members, it's incredibly important that you actually spend the time to train them. When correcting, it's important that you teach, not tell. When building your team, it's important to understand their dreams and goals and help them achieve it. Now, Dan Martell explains how he does it. When I work with my team, I don't just tell them what to do. If I see something that they're doing wrong, I make a note of it and create training to address it. By teaching instead of simply correcting, I establish a standard that now everybody can follow. When coaching others, I often hear complaints like, my team isn't figuring it out, or they're too slow, or they're not taking risks. My response is always the same. Show me where you've created a training to address these issues. Most of the time they haven't, and that's the problem. If you want your team to perform at the highest level, you need to create resources that clearly outline how things should be done. And this approach creates accountability while empowering your team with the tools that they need to be successful. It's not about micromanaging. It's about teaching and setting clear expectations so that your team can thrive. It's also one thing to understand where somebody wants to go, but it's even more important to create a clear path for them to get there. So ask your team members for their vision for their life. Then work with them to create a development plan, specific skills, training opportunities, milestones that can align with their personal goals and the company's needs. And by investing in your people's development, you're not only helping them grow, you're also building a team that's more capable and more motivated and more aligned with the company vision. When you train your team and you align their goals with your business objectives, you create a culture where people thrive and they want to stay. Now that you know the 6 reasons why startups fail and how to prevent them, click this link to learn my key takeaways from Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time.